Qualitiotlak, nine mapitsmit shukwetspali, iwaninopaki, nikan, ikain tracking project. Good afternoon, my name is Handful of Arrows, or PAZ, and I have been working with the tracking project and the Stokes family for about 20 years now. I usually present the cultural awareness component of the different camps that we do with the tracking project. My wife and I both sit on their advisory board, and my whole family is involved with this wonderful endeavor. Throughout the years, one of the things that the tracking project has focused on is bringing so-called native and non-native people together. And we have felt honored to be some of the Native American presence that has worked with the tracking project, because John Stokes and his family have found a way that we can have an interface between so-called native and non-native people. It's something that's very necessary to all of us as human beings to be able to understand one another and enjoy and respect one another's cultures. So essentially what I will do is I'll come into one of the camps and we'll talk about cultural diversity and how we can take pieces of culture from one another and at the same time honor them. This has been a very big aspect of the tracking project in all of its incarnations, whether it be the mentoring camps or the young men and young women's survival camps. We utilize this cultural diversity aspect to help bring us all together, to bring the pieces of humanity together, so to speak. Part of what we do as a cultural awareness section of the tracking project's programs is we teach a little bit of Mexica Chichimeca, or Aztec Indian dancing, at the different camps that are hosted. I myself and my family live in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I make my living as a professional artist, multidisciplinary. I sculpt and paint, make jewelry, handmade tile, and many other types of artwork. And I've found that through the years, being able to be a part of the tracking project has helped to keep my focus on where we came from, which is nature, and to integrate the lessons that I learn and the things that I see and experience while I'm out on these camps into my artwork. I've always got the idea that we're not supposed to be battling nature. Nature is not our enemy. It's the bigger part of who we are as human beings. And so when I go back into my studio, I try to take the inspiration that I've gained from being out in the wilderness and integrate it into something which is essentially artificial, a man-made artifact, which would be my artwork. The importance of fire, whether in traditional or contemporary culture, cannot be overestimated. If it were not for fire, we wouldn't have cooked meat. One of the things that to me has been one of the major gifts that I have received from the tracking project is all 4 of my children were taught to make fire while they were at the youth survival camps. Also, as an added bonus, I was brought back to the fire. I had learned how to fire making as a youth, but had left it aside. And when I came back into contact with John Stokes and his tracking project, and I saw that one of the things they were doing was fire making, I was immediately excited. It's hard to imagine the thrill of being able to make your own fire, not using gasoline or matches or any of the modern man-made devices, to be able to get several sticks of wood and produce something that makes one feel almost superhuman. Working with the tracking project gives me hope for the future of humanity. I have come to see now 2 generations of young women and young men grow up in the best of ways to be fine, functioning, contributing members of society. I think a lot of that is due to the fact that the tracking project tries to push a platform of wholeness, health through physical education, health through mental education, health through spiritual education, and health through just being out in nature. We often forget how being able to just move and be physical in nature is such a wonderful thing for the human body. When we have our Aztec dance sessions that we have for the tracking project, we do them out in the mountains and we're beating our giant drums. We have a thunderous beat outside, and it's as if the trees all around us, the aspens, the pines, are listening to us. We'll be in the middle of a dance and a bird will pass overhead, sometimes a flock, sometimes a hawk, many times an eagle, other times other birds, but they all seem to take notice of us and the fact that we're trying to commune with nature, and we're trying to do something in the way that all peoples throughout the world did in traditional times.